So, I want to talk to you about someone asking me a question about graveyard dirt. I know it's common practice in Western practices to go and get some graveyard dirt for whatever workings in voodoo or European witchcraft or Wicca, what have you. And the question was, how was that fitting with the African spirituality, African perspective? I'll say that I was really kind of surprised a few years back when I was actually studying Western witchcraft and seeing this practice, which I find interesting, that you would just go to the cemetery, to any kind of a grave, depending on what you need, a medical doctor, this and that, and someone ask the spirits that there whether you could take some dirt and go and do your working with it. Interesting concept, interesting notion. And I always wondered, because when I've watched a lot of video on this particular topic, and a lot of practitioners who've talked about it. And again, it's one of those subjects where, for me, I've always felt that there was something missing, because every time you watch those videos, people would just say, yeah, you just go there in the cemetery and you feel like you're asking, and then, if you feel like the person is saying yes, the deceased is saying yes, you just grab whatever you need to grab, you put it in the bag and you go. Nice, clean, easy, like no question asked. And I always wondered, and I tried, I really like for me to always research the other side. We are in a duality environment, so I always try to see what's the counter side of that. And when I didn't find any videos talking about people who maybe they thought that the entity said yes and didn't, or the entity didn't reply, or they had a negative experience taking somebody's graveyard dirt. And I couldn't find any, and I just thought it was really interesting that there wasn't any videos on that, and which leads to my take on African spirituality, because for us, the place where an ancestor is buried is sacred. You don't take dirt from there. You don't desecrate that place. And for us, we have specific rituals and processes when dealing with the dead and dealing with the remains of the dead and how we work with them. And that will be the topic of another video. But it is really, really highly sacred, and it is for us like where our ancestors are buried those are sacred grounds. So normally it is on the ancestors' land, on the property. Therefore, you wouldn't have some random person just passing by. Back in the days, there was no cemetery. People will bury the person on the property, on a portion of the property, a portion that was usually unused. And mind you, because when I'm saying the property, people may start thinking, oh, you bury your grandfather in your backyard. No, this is when people had acres and acres of land. The superficies was huge. That means those were places where you wouldn't normally go, you wouldn't normally see. So it is away from where people live. And that's also a notion from today, where nobody would want to live next to a cemetery. Okay? For us, a cemetery is outside the town, really far away, because you don't want to be meddling with all those energies and all the stuff that are present there. And this is why also sometimes some of us who are very sensitive, when you live in a city where the cemetery is in the city, because the town grows so much that you kind of like live in the vicinity of the cemetery. There may be a lot of different exchanges and a lot of things going on there. So for us, it's like the cemetery has to be far away from living habitation where people live, or it has to be in a designated space that's already sacred, that people don't go. Because the other thing is that you shouldn't be disturbing the dead. So it is very important to give them the space especially at night, because the nighttime is seen as a different state of being than the daytime. And there's a lot of stuff that us as human beings have to respect at nighttime. But that's also the subject of another video. So basically, because the ancestors and the land where the remains are is sacred, we wouldn't allow just some random person coming to get them. And most of those properties anyways have fetishes, and you can go check my videos on fetishes, protect the property and things like that. So if you are coming there intending to steal even some dirt, some ground, there may be a lot of issues that will follow you home, or even prevent you from even getting onto the property. So it's something that you want to indulge in Europe or North America, wherever you go ahead. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but I know people like to explore and experiment, but again, you have to know what you're doing. You have to have your protection and all these different things, because from even my own experience with Native Americans spirituality, there are some places where you're not allowed to take ground and go and stuff like that. There are spaces that are sacred, where the ground there, the water there, and certain things that cannot be taken and brought away and taken away because of the sacredness of the space. So I'll just tell you to be careful. It's not because you've seen a video that you need to run out and start doing all kind of things, especially when you don't know what you are doing. And this video is especially for the newbies. This is not to scare you or anything like, or project any type of fear. It's just to explain to you that certain ancestors, certain traditions, certain spaces have different rules, and if you're not already well versed in terms of being able to either know what those rules are in specific environments or be aware of them, you may be calling on a lot of issues and trouble to yourself. And you just need to know that. For me, I don't babysit people, but I would rather, this is a platform to share information and to make sure that when you're taking a decision, you have as much information as possible when making them. But there's a lot of different things that you can do with your own ancestor in your own graveyard. And this is one of the questions that I had. Maybe if you are somebody who's done that or who's thinking about it, I always wondered why in those videos and people who are using graveyard dirt, why they never went to their own graveyard, to their own family graveyard to get the dirt. And maybe if you have an answer, you can put it in the comments down below. I'll be very interested to see either your perspective or your own experience. And because to me, it will make a lot more sense if you need that type of ingredient for whatever you're doing, that you go to a place that will be safe for you to do. I haven't even seen that being recommended in those videos, so I think it's an interesting discussion to be had. And like I say, I mean, I'll be doomed if someone will come at the burial place of my own ancestor and try to steal some dirt or start to steal some of their bones or some part of them, anything like that. But I don't have to worry about that, because there are different things in place to prevent these kind of things. And I just want you to think about it when you see a practice and you want to adopt it, and to actually go and do your research and saying where it's coming from, what's the point of it, and what are you giving in return, because I think that's also a part that's never really discussed when you don't know what you are giving in return, and it won't be the money that you're exchanging, just to let you know. But we'll discuss more in other videos, and so thank you so much for being with me, and I'll see you in the next. Bye bye.